We are live. And what's happening? What's happening between the Anthropic's Fable 5, the latest model, and US government? We'll look into that. But before that, so beautiful. I'm at this coffee shop, this beautiful coffee shop. I know everybody over here, everybody who works over here. And today, they gave me a coffee. They actually, one of the people who works over here, she actually bought me coffee. So beautiful. All right, let's look into this. So what is happening between US government and Anthropic's Fable 5? First, let's read what David Sachs has said. So let's look at this first. This is David Sachs. I had a number of conversations with folks inside and outside government about the current situation with Anthropic. And here is what I believe to be true. As we know, Anthropic publicly released a Mythos class model earlier this week under the commercial name Fable. So here's my read. Basically, David Sachs, what he's talking about over here. Now, I'll give a very high level read of what do I think right now what's happening. On a very high level, David Sachs over here is saying that Anthropic said Mythos is like a cyber weapon. Then they actually launched Fable 5, which is like Mythos but with guardrails. And then one of our trusted partners found that there was an error. There was something. There was a way that you could actually jailbreak that model. The US government reported that to Anthropic, and Dario basically didn't look into it. Anthropic didn't look into it. And that's the reason why they banned it. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. So there were a lot of conversations around, Anthropic is doing this again. Where Anthropic is, and I think Signal had a really good read about this. This is basically just aura. This is aura farming. This is aura farming. So Anthropic earlier came out and they said that, yes, we have built this new model. There is Project Last Wing. We have built this new model called Mythos. It is incredibly powerful. It is going to just jailbreak all the important websites around the world. But people believed it, but also many people didn't believe it. People were like, oh, you are doing this again just for fundraising. You are kind of creating some sort of fear. Even I thought the same thing. I didn't think it was that powerful. I didn't think it was that powerful. They were basically selling a problem that they were first pointing towards a very big problem that's going to take over the world, that's going to destroy the world, and then being like, okay, here's our solution. And that's how you kind of like that's how you build your company. You basically create a problem and then you sell a solution. So it felt like that. Many people didn't believe how powerful it was. I actually now believe how powerful it was because we were making these shairis, and the shairis that Fable 5 made were incredible. I'm reading the shairis by Opus 4.8 and they are not that good. They are not that good. I'm like, something's missing. Fable was really good. So now, on a high level, what is happening is that to make sure people understand that how powerful we, Anthropic, have built a model, they actually put it out there. And then the US government actually was like, this is powerful and it is like a cyber weapon and you should block this. And what has basically happened is that the biggest authority in the world has declared that this company has built something extremely powerful. And that's exactly what Anthropic wanted. Anthropic isn't getting it. This is such a 3D level chess like checkers where they are like, okay, we know that these people, we have some sort of stuff going on with the US government. They don't really like us. But they are still the biggest authority in the world, like a normal person living around the world. If they hear that, oh, US government did something, they think that, oh yeah, that's an authority. So they take it seriously. So instead of themselves telling that we have built something really powerful, you put that powerful thing out there, you let US government go crazy that, okay, this is actually powerful, and then you block it, you block access to it. and that verifies that yes, these guys actually built something really powerful. That even the U.S. government is saying that, guys, we can't let this out. We can't let this out of U.S. And it's very interesting because I think I read that Karpathy, who was recently hired by Anthropic, I think I read that Andre Karpathy is blocked from using Fable 5, which is crazy. You are part of this company. You are the smartest employee of this company, and you are being blocked to use the smartest model that you have contributed to. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's get into this now. So basically, this is my high level read. Anthropic is playing this 3D checkers, or 3D chess, where they intentionally put this out there to make people realize how powerful it is. For US government to then block it to confirm that yes, they have built something incredibly powerful. I also want to read Signal's read on this. Signal also had some interesting stuff. I suspect Anthropic will put out a long blog post tomorrow to highlight the specifics around both the actual vulnerability and the underlying set of events from their perspective, although I'm really tired of this. Okay, this one. Contrary to the default reaction on this little website, this is absolutely incredible news for Anthropic. I mean, honestly, yes, the operation disruption is real, but public and world perception-wise, this could not be a bigger home run, could be a grand slam time situation. The United States government just looked at their model and effectively said, yeah, this shit is too powerful. You simply cannot buy that kind of aura. It elevates every other product by the company, and it instantly reframes Anthropic's work as strategically significant, nationally relevant, and qualitatively different from the rest of the field. There is not a single institution on the planet that can buy or orchestrate this type of significance. Absolutely ridiculous. I was also curious about this one. Yes. People tend to plan so much, especially in NYC, but I find the best parts of life are usually truly merge in walks that become drinks. Drinks that become dinners. Dinner that becomes 2 a.m. somewhere you didn't even expect. NYC has endless possibility, but somehow everyone has converted into logistics. A city built for serendipity, but kind of ruined by calendar invites. I'm really curious. How powerful actually was Anthropic's Fable model? Let's see. Whoa. Publicly released Anthropic product, and I should be careful not to invent details about something that doesn't exist. Okay. Real doubts about whether that reflects reality. I can verify it from trading knowledge. Framing has hallmarks of fictional or test content. Fable 5's real launched on June 9, days before my knowledge cut off, which is why I was skeptical. Here's what the reporting actually says about how powerful it is. First, publicly available Mythos class model, the same underlying capability Anthropic has restricted to a handful of partners since April under Project Glasswing because of cybersecurity concerns. So, okay, this is also interesting because Nikesh Arora, who is the founder and CEO or just the CEO of Palo Alto Networks, he also came out and he was like, yes, Mythos has actually done something that was extremely powerful. I also like how they are naming their models, and their naming model sounds like evolution of a Pokemon, where yes, Haiku sounds like a cute sonnet, okay, cool, fast, Opus, big, and then Mythos, grand. I really like the naming. Fable 5 exceeds every Claude model it had previously made generally available with stronger performance across software engineering, knowledge work, vision, scientific research, and long-running tasks. The earlier methods review still leads on computer use and multidisciplinary reasoning. The hidden capability is sustained autonomy. Its pitch is capable of sustained autonomous operation across multi-day task planning across stages, multi-day tasks, delegating to sub-agents and self-verifying its work. Anthropic also says it updates its own skills based on learnings and develops its own harnesses and evaluations. On coding specifically, it's described as straight off the art of cursor bench, opening up a class of long horizon problems that were out of reach for earlier models. It also has strong vision, understanding diagrams, charts, and tables nested in files, PDFs. Evaluate its own coding output against the original design. Deliberately throttle in dangerous domains, include safeguards that limit its performance in specific high-risk areas. Harmful prompts related to cybersecurity, biology, chemistry, and health fall back to response from Opus 4.8 itself. Available only to a small group of vetted customers. So Fable 5 and Mythos 5 are the same underlying model. Fable just wraps it in blocking classifiers. The reason for all this caution: the Mythos review proved unusually adept at finding vulnerabilities across every major operating system and web browser despite not being designed for cybersecurity, which is what triggered the restricted rollout in the first place. Anthropic says it ran an external bug bounty, producing no universal jailbreaks in over 1,000 hours of testing before releasing it publicly. Most of the specific benchmark numbers live in comparison chart I can read from these source snippets. It's very interesting. It's very interesting that the US government is now entering into these conversations that, okay, very specific technology, that, okay, this technology is incredibly powerful and we believe that this shouldn't be out there, which is very interesting. Mythos with guardrails, but if those guardrails fail, then you have exposed Mythos and its advanced cyber capabilities to people who shouldn't have them. They asked for government regulation of Mythos and championed the guardrails on Fable. If there is a vulnerability, big or small, it is Anthropic's responsibility to patch. A highly credible, trusted partner of both Anthropic and the USG, who was testing Fable, came forward with a jailbreak of those guardrails. The admin asked Dario to fix a jailbreak or redeploy the model. Dario refused. In their blog post, defended its decision by saying the jailbreak isn't serious. This is not what the trusted partner and USG believe, nor is that kind of minimizing language consistent with Anthropic's brand and the AI safety company. It's difficult to fathom how. Yeah, it's interesting. I believe Anthropic is expecting that nobody actually reads that blog post. Anthropic is just expecting that, yes, something like this, something this crazy happened, where the US government blocked their model for how powerful it was, and they're like, yes, we did it. And now 1 week later, they're gonna come back with a launch. They're gonna, okay, we fixed it. Anthropic just wanted to aura farm on how powerful it built Fable. Anthropic has always said that safety must be top priority and taken super seriously. In this case, Anthropic prioritized the continued offering of the consumer model over safety. In reaction, the admin issued the export control. The admin did this reluctantly. It's been very surprised that Anthropic hasn't wanted to cooperate with the reasonable safety request. Anthropic's reaction is very much at odds with their branding and ethos in the safe AI research community. The admin's hope now is that Anthropic remediates the safety issue. Whatever happened, whatever happened over here, everything worked in favor of Anthropic. Amazing. Very much at odds with the branding and ethos of the safe AI research community. Admin wants all of this to happen as soon as possible. It is frankly that Anthropic has wanted to comply with safety requests that it previously said were its highest priority. Those trying to misdirect and tie this action to the prior DOW Anthropic issues are wrong. The admin values Anthropic's technical capabilities and feels that this issue, while serious, should be easily resolved. The ball is in Anthropic's court.
Ada tambahan macam ni ya, dia tak lebih daripada 60%.
Jailbreak wasn't super serious. A situation anyone who has ever received bug reports is familiar with. Anthropic thought the demand to halt model was absurd, and Fed Gulf used opportunity to punish and humiliate Anthropic for the prior sins of not bending knee. Has OpenAI built a Mythos level model? I love how it just says everywhere. Claude Fable 5 is currently unavailable. It's just gonna say everywhere because now they control. It's in Anthropic's. The ball is in Anthropic's court, so they're gonna just leverage this opportunity to the max, and they're just gonna make sure that everybody knows what is happening. Which are those safety requests? Banning Fable 5 Mythos 5 was national security's peak government panic, disabling the entire system for everyone because an AI model might know too much as well. Are we protecting state secrets, or is Pentagon just scared of a chatbot? Credible tester found a jailbreak. The admin asked for a fix or pullback. Temporary foreign access restrictions to avoid exposing unpatched offensive potential. Dual use AI at this level gets scrutiny, especially from the lab that set the precedent. Directly comparable model in the same capability tier. Help them patch problems rather than releasing it broadly. Sometimes referred to as Daybreak, paralleling Anthropic's Glasswing. Glasswing. Okay, which is a better name? I think now it's all about aura farm. Now it's all aura farming. What kind of name are you gonna give your model? What kind of name are you gonna go ahead with? Like OpenAI just coming up with names like, yes, this is 5.5, this is 4.2, this is blah blah blah, and Anthropic using names like Opus, Mythos, Fable. It's very interesting. What is the meaning of the word fable? Let's see. One raw capability, the two are neck and neck. 5.5 and Claude Mythos are the only two models known to complete a full end-to-end cyber attack simulation. On export level cyber tasks, GPT 5.5 scored 7.14%. Narrow edge to OpenAI on that particular benchmark. OpenAI already uses a similar two-tier system, vetting security researchers and organizations to decide who gets access to models that could accelerate cyber defenses. The same gated access approach Anthropic used for Mythos 5. OpenAI is a peer-level cyber-capable frontier model deployed under the same restricted access philosophy, and it benchmarks roughly even with Mythos. What it hasn't done is Anthropic's specific move of wrapping the capability in safeguards and releasing it broadly to the public the way Fable 5 just did. Going forward, prediction markets are Fable is a short story usually. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is crazy. Fable literally means a short story. Fable is a short story usually featuring animals, plants, or forces of nature given human qualities. It's a short story usually featuring animals, plants, or forces of nature given. It did its job. Fable literally means a short story. Did its job, got the stamp of approval from the biggest authority on earth. Anthropic did build an extremely powerful Fable literally means a short story. Fable literally means a short story. Did its job, got the stamp of approval from the biggest authority on earth. Biggest authority on earth. The Anthropic wasn't joking, they didn't build an extremely powerful model. Very interesting, very interesting. Fable literally means a short story. Fable literally means a short story. It did its job, got the stamp of approval from the biggest authority on earth. The Anthropic wasn't joking, they did build an extremely powerful model. Wow. SpaceX also just IPO'd, so we will also talk about that in the next stream. The word has a second sense, a story that's untrue or fictitious. Calling something just a fable means it's a myth. A legend or a fabrication not to be believed. Fable was just a way to show that how powerful of a product they have built, get the stamp of approval, and now they can start selling this product only to vetted customers, only to the top tier customers at an extremely high price. Very interesting, very interesting. More broadly, the word has a second sense, a story that's untrue or fictitious. Calling something just a fable means it's a myth, a legend, or a fabrication not to be believed. The word traces back through Old French fable to the Latin fabula, meaning a story, tale, or talk, which itself comes from fare, to speak. That same root gives us words like fabulous, like a fable, or and confabulate. To tell invented stories or to speak falsely. Both an instructive narrative and something spun from imagination. Spun for imagination, fitting for a storytelling theme model name. Prediction markets are watching OpenAI's GPT 5.6 development as the likely contender for the next release in this year. So I think we read this entire thing. Now let's look at Anthropic's statement. What's happening over here? Citing national security authorities has issued an export control directive that suspend all access to Fable 5 Mythos 5 by any foreign national, whether inside or outside the United States, including foreign national Anthropic employees. Wow. The net effect of this order is that we must abruptly disable Fable 5 Mythos 5 for all our customers to ensure compliance. Access to all other Anthropic models will not be affected. We reviewed a demonstration of the specific technique being used to identify a small number of previously known minor vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities will all appear relatively simple, and we have found that other publicly available models are able to discover them as well without requiring a handoff. So something like this has happened for the very first time. Something like this has happened for the very first time. Something like this has happened for the very first time, where US government has entered the chat and asked a company like a frontier model lab or a frontier lab like Anthropic to disable access to their most powerful model, citing national security concerns. How does this increase the aura of Anthropic? It boosts Anthropic's aura significantly by signaling that their tech is dangerously capable. Dangerously capable, I like that term. Dangerously capable. Build a dangerously capable model. I like that. Meta jour. Fable literally means a short story. It does its job. It did its job. Got the stamp of approval from the biggest authority on earth that Anthropic wasn't joking. They did build a dangerously capable model. Very interesting. The ultimate validator in the AI arms race. This is framed as the first time the US government has directly intervened at this level with a frontier lab treating the latest models like sensitive export control tech that elevates the perception of power and strategic importance around Anthropic in several ways, too powerful to freely share prestige. Governments don't lock down mediocre tech for national security by citing risks. These models sit at the bleeding edge, capable enough to worry about proliferation to adversaries, foreign actors, or even allies. Creates an aura of exclusivity and potency. In tech lore, banned, restricted by the state, often mythologizes the product, similar to how early encryption tools or certain dual-use tech gain cachet. Users in the industry now see Anthropic's frontier work as high stakes enough to trigger export controls overnight. Signals deep government entanglement and attention. Anthropic is a history of principles, chances on safety. Government still relies on, engages with their tech enough to issue such a directive. Key player in the USA ecosystem, not just another startup, but one whose models matter for national security calculus. Anthropic is a key player in the USA ecosystem, not just another startup, but one whose models matter for national security calculations. Yeah, I think this increases the aura. This makes them more important. This brings them into the inner circle that okay, now you have built something truly important, so you are now part of the crew, you are now part of the circle. Even while complying and disabling globally to avoid violations, this shouldn't come across as measured and transparent, reinforcing the responsible brand while highlighting the capability gap. Oh. Marketing and narrative, when unintended or not. Scarcity plus government attention is virality. The model the US had to pull sounds more impressive than a routine release. It fuels discussions on X News and among developers about just how advanced it must be. Differentiates Anthropic from peers, OpenAI, Google, XAI, etc. haven't had this exact intervention spotlight yet. Fable literally means a short story. Did its job, got the stamp of approval from the biggest authority on earth, that Anthropic wasn't joking. They built a dangerous scalable model. It went from Fable literally means a short story. Did its job, got the stamp of approval from the biggest authority on earth, that Anthropic wasn't joking. They didn't build a dangerously capable model, massive narrative, and we went from just another release to the model the USG had. Oh. Had to pull. Wow, I'm making so many edits. Il existe une nouvelle version de ce post. It literally means a short story. Did its job, got the stamp of approval from the biggest authority on earth, that Anthropic wasn't joking. They did build a dangerously capable model, massive narrative, and it went from just another release to the model the USG had to pull. It differentiates Anthropic from peers. Haven't had this exact intervention spotlight yet. Burnishes their image as a serious safety conscious lab. Talented investors and ambitious users working with them accessing Anthropic tech now feels like being in the real geopolitical game, not just consumer AI. Slow momentum and wide regulatory scrutiny. In the long game of frontier AI, where aura drives funding, talent, and influence. Massive narrative win. Massive aura points. Aura. I think people talk about aura a lot, which has basically just become, which is basically just the way how things happen now. You simply cannot buy that kind of aura. Incredibly bullish. But in the long game, this kind of visibility often outweighs the friction, especially as other models remain available and the narrative shifts to US treating Anthropic's best as strategic assets. It amplifies the mythos of Anthropic as a lab whose models are consequential enough to warrant state-level intervention. In a field obsessed with capabilities and power dynamics, that's a strong aura enhancer. Aura enhancer might not be the right term, but okay. It underscores the shift of AI from pure tech to national power projection. users have complained that they are overly broad. In the week leading up to launch of Fable, USG, UK, AISI, multiple private third-party organizations and donor teams to red team Fable safeguards for thousands of hours are substantially more effective than those of any previously deployed model. No testers have yet been able to find a universal jailbreak, a jailbreak method that can very broadly bypass the model's safeguards. Unblocking a wide range of cyber capabilities. We suspect that perfect jailbreak resistance is not currently possible for any model provider. Every safeguard used in the industry is vulnerable to non-universal jailbreaks. Universal jailbreaks will eventually be found in the future. We stated this clearly when we released Fable. Quickly detect and shut down any successful attacks. This is also why Anthropic has required 30-day retention of customer data with Fable. I also read something very interesting yesterday that this just reminds me that Anthropic is using Colossus 1, the data center built by XAI. And one of the biggest problems of Colossus was that it only operated at 11% of its peak capacity because of the way they integrated they built a data center so fast, but the strategy was not right. They basically had the fastest processors and a couple of other processors which were not the fastest, and because there were three different types of processor, three different levels of power of processors in the same place, the fastest processor had to wait while these slow ones were working to start processing. So there were some sort of like efficiency issues over there. Defense in depth strategy reduced the risk posed by Fable, making them comparable to the risk of existing models already deployed across the industry. Quickly detect and shut down any successful attacks. It's only given us verbal evidence of potential narrow non-universal jailbreak, which essentially consists of asking the model to read a specific code base and fix any software flaws. Our understanding is that one potential jailbreak was shared with the government. Used every day by the defenders who keep systems safe. We will share more details over the next 24 hours. If this standard was applied across the industry, we believe it would essentially halt all new model deployments for all frontier model providers. It is transparent, fair, clear, and grounded in technical facts. This action does not adhere to those principles. Beautiful. 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 Policy on the AI exponential. Oh my god. Okay. First, let's see. Give me a summary of this post. In one of the side plots to the Lord of Rings, two of the hobbits attempt to rouse Treebeard, a wise but they all are looking towards all these mystical stories, because these mystical stories probably maybe they might be sharing the deepest truths of life. I don't know. Two of the hobbits attempt to rouse Treebeard, a wise but ponderous sentient tree, to defend his forest from an army that is cutting it down. Attempt to rouse Treebeard, a wise but ponderous sentient tree, to defend his forest from an army that is cutting it down. Okay. The problem is that Treebeard operates at a very different speed than the hobbits. It takes him a full day simply to say hello to one other tree, so getting him and his peers to act fast enough is nearly impossible. The intersection of AI and political institutions feels a bit like the hobbits and Treebeard. AI is advancing at lightning pace. In only 4 years, AI models have gone from barely being able to write a coherent line of code to writing most of the code at major AI companies. Okay, now I'm curious. What are the most prominent changes that have been made to the industry of law since the birth of large language models? Legal research and document review. Large language models can now scan, summarize, analyze massive volumes of case law, contracts, and discovery documents in a fraction of the time. It took teams of associates and paralegals. This has shifted the day-to-day work in a free, concrete ways. Tasks like contract review, due diligence, and e-discovery that previously consumed enormous billable hours. Tasks like I think the way lawyers make money is also going to change. It's going to move away from billable hours to actually outcome driven. Are you actually helping us move towards the better outcome, or are you just charging me for like sitting down and taking notes? Contract review, due diligence, and discovery that previously consumed enormous billable hours are increasingly automated or accelerated. Plausible sounding but non-existent cases. Several lawyers have already been sanctioned by courts for filing AI-generated notes containing fake citations. Yes, I believe the way lawyers are being paid with the billable hours model is totally going to change, and we're going to move towards more outcome-driven pay. That's a plausible direction, and you are not alone in predicting that, but it's worth being clear about the forces pushing both for and against that shift. Dying in predictions for decades and has proven remarkably durable. The case for your view is strong. If AI collapses the time needed for research, review, and drafting, then billing by the hour actually penalizes the efficient form. The perverse incentive clients increasingly refuse to swallow. Alternative fee arrangements, flat fees, cap fees, value-based pricing, success fees align everyone around the result rather than the effort. But there are real reasons the billable hour persists or transfers risk to the client. And partly outside the lawyer's control, outcome-based pay forces firms to price that risk, and many would rather not. The billable, right? So it makes sense to have Yeah, it makes sense to have it's like salary and stocks. So it makes sense to have flat fees and then outcome driven fees for yeah. Partner track metrics, profit per partner benchmarks is built around it. Switching costs are high. The likely reality is probably messier than a clean move to outcome driven pay. A few things worth watching. The split may fall along practice area lines with predictable commoditized work, routine contracts, compliance, simple filings, going flat fee or subscription, while bespoke, high stakes, uncertain work, complex litigation, novel M&A, bet the company matters. Keep something closer to hourly or hybrid pricing. Outcome driven also raises a hard definitional question in law outside of contingency fee plaintiff work. What counts as the measurable outcome? Outcome driven also raises a hard definitional question in law outside the contingency fee plaintiff work. What counts as the measurable outcome? A transaction can close on bad terms. A defense can be brilliant and still lose. Defining and pricing success is generally difficult, which is part of why value-based pricing has spread slowly. Maybe on a more fundamental level, people will stop even using a bunch of lawyers because the rules will be much more clearer. I believe a lot of out of the court settlement will happen because it will bring a lot of efficiency. People will stop going to lawyers a lot more because AI will make life so much more efficient and following rules so much more efficient. I believe so. Only the most important cases will go up in the courts. Which finally forces a. By the way, 4.8 is getting really fast. Which finally forces a long resistant unbundling of how legal work is priced. There's a real insight in here, but I would separate the parts that hold up from the ones that lean on an assumption worth questioning. The strongest piece of my argument is the settlement point. No litigation persists because the two sides generally disagree about how a case will turn out. The strongest piece of your argument is the settlement point. A lot of litigation persists because the two sides generally disagree about how a case will turn out. Each thinks they will win, so neither settles. If AI can give both parties a sober shared estimate of likely outcomes based on comparable cases, that disagreement shrinks. And the rational move becomes settling near the predicted result rather than burning money to discover it in court. That's a well-grounded prediction. It's the same logic that already drives settlement. Litigation is expensive and uncertain, and anything that reduces the uncertainty pushes towards earlier resolution. It's a well-grounded prediction. It's the same logic that already drives settlement. Litigation is expensive and uncertain, and anything that reduces this uncertainty pushes toward earlier resolution. Your instinct that the important, generally normal cases are the ones that still go to trial follows naturally. Those are precisely the cases where outcomes can be predicted from precedent. So there is something real to fight over. Legal disputes are mostly about not knowing the rules. Often they aren't. A large share of disputes are about facts, not law. Who said that? Who breached first? What someone intended? Whose version of events is true? AI doesn't resolve a factual dispute. Two people swear opposite things happen. Law is also frequently ambiguous. I think it's beautiful. It's beautiful. When events happen, when they're not recorded, events just happen. Everybody has a different reality of how that event played out in their mind. Everybody has a different version of how that event played out in their mind, which is beautiful. It's kind of beautiful. Said that who reach first. Also equally ambiguous on purpose. Standards like reasonable good faith and undue hardship are deliberately open texture so they can flex to circumstances. Those aren't bugs that clear information removes, they are judgment calls. Those aren't bugs that clear information removes, they are judgment calls that require someone with authority to decide. And many disputes aren't really about uncertainty at all. They're about leverage, emotion, or one party simply being unwilling to pay. A clear picture. This reminds me of the Elon Musk and Sam Altman case. Like, I think they basically just went to the court, and Elon knows that during due diligence, a lot of his personal data is going to come out. So they were like, okay, let's just settle for it. But doing that, they have wasted a lot of time and distracted the small team of OpenAI, which is kind of crazy. Their goal was mainly just to distract them, to put them off the rails and kind of slow them down, because they are pushing towards raising money, raising capital, XAI, the SpaceX IPO, all that stuff. And many disputes aren't about uncertainty at all, they're about leverage, emotion, and one party simply being unwilling to pay. A clear picture of the rules doesn't make a wrong party feel made whole, and it doesn't make a stubborn party reasonable. Reduces the disputes that exist because of legal and predictive uncertainty, which is a meaningful chunk. Predictive uncertainty. But it leaves largely intact the disputes rooted in contested facts, genuine ambiguity, and human stubbornness. Fewer lawyers needed for the predictable middle, still very much needed at the two ends, the high stakes novel cases and the messy factual fights. One more wrinkle worth folding in: clear rules and cheaper legal tooling can increase legal activity rather than decrease it. Clear rules and cheaper legal tooling can increase legal activity rather than decrease it. So interesting. One more wrinkle worth folding in: clear rules and cheaper legal tooling can increase legal activity rather than decrease it. Let's read about this. The world is the smartest people are the people who see the inherent duality in everything. In a relationship, a guy is both a father figure and a little boy simultaneously. Tell me more examples of this inherent duality that exists in nature. There's something real in what you're pointing at, and shows up across a lot of domains. In a person's strength and fragility tend to travel together. Strength and fragility tend to travel together. The people who project the most control are often managing the most fear. The generally calm ones have usually made peace with how little they control. The generally calm ones have usually made peace with how little they control. A leader is simultaneously the one who serves and the one who commands. The moment they forget either half, they fail. The inherent duality, you have to serve and you have to command. You have to be the leader and you have to be the little boy. Crazy. Wow. In nature, it's almost structural. Light behaves as both wave and particle, and which one you see depends on how you look. Water is the softest thing and also the force that carves canyons. A forest fire is destruction and the precondition for certain seeds to open. Predator and prey define each other, remove one and the other collapses too. Without a prey, the predator dies. Without the predator, remove one and the other collapses. What does that mean? Deeper idea than just animals hunting animals. On the surface, a wolf needs deer to eat. But the deer population also needs wolves. Without predators, deer populations can explode, overgraze vegetation, become sick, and eventually crash. The predator shapes the prey, and the prey shapes the predator. It's like Joker and Batman. Tell me this from the perspective of Joker and the Batman. Wolf needs the predator and the prey both need each other. Wolf needs deer to eat, but the deer population also needs wolves. Without predators, deer population can explode, overgraze vegetation, become sick, and eventually crash. The predator shapes the prey, and the prey shapes the predator. The pattern appears everywhere. Without the prey, the predator will just die because he's built for eating. This pattern appears everywhere. Teacher, student. Without students, there is no teacher. Without teachers, there are no students in that role. Without students, there is no teacher. Without teachers, there are no students in that role. Buyer, seller, each exists because the other exists. Question, answer. An answer is born from a question. A question creates the space for an answer. Mountain, valley. A valley is defined by the mountain around it. I love the duality. The duality. Duality. You are present. You are a present. Presence. Presence. A mountain is perceived because of the valley beside it. A valley is defined by the mountain around it. Success only has meaning because failure is possible. Success only has meaning. Success only has meaning because failure is possible. Remove failure entirely and success becomes the default state, losing its meaning. This idea appears in many philosophical traditions too. In the Chinese concept of yin and yang, opposites are not enemies. Each contains the seeds of the other. Day becomes night, summer becomes winter, life becomes death. Duality. Duality. Life becomes death, which nourishes new life. The deeper insight is that reality is often made of relationships rather than isolated things. A predator is not just a wolf, a predator is a wolf in relation to deer. A father is not just a man, a father is a man in relation to a child. Similarly, the example that caught your attention, man can be both a father figure and a little boy, means that within the same person there is often the capacity to protect. Within the same person there is often the capacity to protect and the desire to be protected. Within the same person, there is often the capacity to protect and the desire to be protected. The mature and the immature. The mature and the immature. The strong and the vulnerable. Most people are mixtures, not single categories. Most people are mixtures, not single categories. The interesting leap is that wisdom may not be seeing two opposites. It may be seeing that what looks like opposites are often parts of one large whole. The interesting leap is that wisdom may not be seeing two opposites. It may be seeing that what looks like opposites are often parts of one large whole. Batman and Joker are a fascinating example of this idea because they are not merely enemies, they define each other. In many interpretations, the Joker believes this explicitly: you complete me. The push and pull, the push and pull. Without Joker, Gotham becomes boring. Without Joker, Batman loses his skills. In many interpretations, the Joker believes this explicitly: you complete me, non-romantically. Duality. Not romantically, but philosophically. From the Joker's perspective, Batman is order, Joker is chaos. Batman is restrained, Joker is impulse. Batman is restrained, Joker is impulse. Batman believes people are fundamentally redeemable. Joker believes everyone is one bad day away from madness. Batman is order, Joker is chaos. Batman is restrained, Joker is impulse. Batman believes people are fundamentally redeemable. Joker believes everyone is one bad day away from madness. The Joker keeps trying to prove that Batman and he are not opposites at all. Joker is a philosopher. Interesting. Give me more dialogues from Joker from this movie. Very bad English. Batman is order, Joker is chaos. Batman is restrained, Joker is impulse. Batman believes people are fundamentally redeemable. Joker believes everyone is one bad day away from madness. The Joker keeps trying to prove that Batman and he are not opposites at all. You complete me. Fundamentally redeemable. Wow. His argument is: you think you are different from me, but you are one traumatic event away from becoming me. You think you are different from me, but you are one traumatic event away from becoming me. Every scheme is essentially an experiment designed to test that hypothesis from Batman's. From Batman's perspective, Joker is what happens when suffering has no anchor. Joker is intelligence detached from morality. Joker is freedom without responsibility. Joker is what happens when suffering has no anchor. Joker is intelligence. Intelligence detached from morality. Joker is freedom without responsibility. Batman sees in the Joker a version of himself that chose a different path. Batman sees in the Joker a version of himself that chose a different path. Joker is what happens when suffering has no anchor. Joker is intelligence detached from morality. Joker is freedom without responsibility. Batman sees in the Joker a version of himself that chose a different path. Both were born from tragedy. Batman feels like he looks at him and he's like, I chose the better path. He looks at him and he feels like I chose the better path. Bruce Wayne, the parents' murder, responds by creating meaning, discipline, duty. Responds by creating meaning, discipline, duty. Responds by creating meaning, discipline, duty. Joker, depending on the story, suffers immense trauma or meaninglessness. Depending on the story, suffers immense trauma or meaninglessness. Responds by embracing absurdity and destruction. Responds by embracing absurdity and destruction. Wow. Embracing absurdity and destruction. Depending on the story, suffers immense trauma or meaninglessness. Wow. Same fire, different direction. This is why the relationship feels deeper than hero versus villain. Batman secretly understands chaos because he battles it every night inside himself. Batman secretly understands chaos. Batman secretly understands chaos because he battles it every night inside himself. So crazy. Like when you are a kid, you were just watching Batman, Superman, but when you are older, you are looking at the philosophy, you're reading the philosophy of the characters and what makes that character and what is the story being conveyed over here. This is crazy. Batman secretly understands chaos because he battles it every night inside himself. Batman understands chaos because he battles it every night inside himself. Joker secretly understands order because he's obsessed with Batman. Joker secretly understands order because he's obsessed with Batman. Each carries the seed of the other. The duality becomes even more interesting. Batman, mask hides Bruce. Makeup hides the man underneath. Batman secretly understands chaos because he battles it every night inside himself. Joker secretly understands order because he's obsessed with Batman. Each carries the seed of the other. He's attracted to him because he sees the same trauma, but he sees that this guy became more rigid. Joker secretly understands order because he's obsessed with Batman. Each carries the seed of the other. The duality becomes even more interesting. Mask hides Bruce. Makeup hides the man underneath. Mask hides Bruce, makeup hides the man underneath. Creates fear for justice. Creates fear for justice. Creates laughter for destruction. Creates fear for justice. Creates laughter for destruction. Creates fear for justice. Batman creates fear for justice. creates laughter for destruction. Batman is hyper-controlled. Joker is completely unrestrained. Batman is hyper-controlled. Joker is completely unrestrained. Batman believes suffering can create meaning. Believes suffering proves meaninglessness. Batman refuses to kill. Joker wants Batman to cross that line. Wants Batman to cross that line. Wow. And here's the paradox. Batman needs the Joker to continually justify why his moral code matters. Batman needs Joker to continually justify why his moral code matters. The Joker needs Batman because without Batman there is nobody left to rebel against. Joker is trying to rebel against someone. Batman needs him to justify why his moral code matters. A world without Batman is boring to the Joker. A world without Joker is easy for Batman, but Batman's deepest challenge disappears. This is why writers often portray them almost like two halves of a broken mirror. The Joker says one bad day, Batman replies through his actions, one bad day is a destiny. The deepest duality is not order versus chaos, it's despair versus responsibility. It is despair versus responsibility. Both men look at the same abyss. The Joker concludes nothing matters. Batman concludes everything matters because suffering exists. Joker concludes nothing matters. And Batman concludes everything matters because suffering exists. Wow. The Joker concludes nothing matters. Batman concludes everything matters because suffering exists. They stand on opposite sides of the same wound. Nothing matters. This is like l'absurdité de la vie. L'absurdité de la vie. Everything matters because suffering exists. They stand on opposite sides of the same wound. That is why their conflict feels mythological rather than merely criminal. Rather than merely criminal. They are less like two men fighting and more like two answers to the same question. If you're talking about The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's Joker is memorable not because he tells jokes, but because almost every line is a philosophical grenade. Some of his most powerful lines, why so serious? This is not really about smiling, it is a challenge to the seriousness with which people cling to their identities, fears, and social roles. This is not really about smiling, it's a challenge to the seriousness with which people cling to their identities, fear, and social roles. Wow. Quotes from Heath Ledger. This is not really about smiling, it's a challenge to the seriousness with which people cling to their identities, fears, and social roles. Whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger. Whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger. Nietzsche said suffering can make you stronger. The Joker twists it. Suffering doesn't make you stronger, it makes you weirder. Suffering doesn't make you stronger, it makes you weirder. Suffering doesn't make you stronger, it makes you weirder. Very dark observation about trauma. I'm like a dog chasing cars. The Joker twisted. Nietzsche said suffering can make you stronger. The Joker twisted. Suffering doesn't make you stronger, it makes you weirder. Suffering doesn't make you stronger, it makes you weirder. A very dark observation about trauma. Suffering doesn't make you stronger, it makes you weirder. A very dark observation about trauma. I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. A very dark observation about trauma. I'm like a dog chasing cars. I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. I think it's amazing. It's amazing. So many dogs chase cars. They don't know what to do with it once they have it. They are just in the habit of chasing. I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. This is one of the keys to understanding him. He claims he has no master plan. He isn't seeking power, money, or victory. He isn't seeking power, money, or victory. He isn't seeking power, money, or victory. He's pursuing chaos for its own sake. It's not about the money, it's about sending a message. It's not about the money, it's about sending a message. He isn't seeking power, money, or victory. He's pursuing chaos for its own sake. It's not about the money, it's about sending a message. It's not about the money, it's about sending a message. Perhaps the most entrepreneur-like thing the Joker says. It's not about the money, it's about sending a message. It's not about the money, it's about sending a message. Perhaps the most entrepreneur-like thing the Joker says. He understands that symbols often matter more than resources. He understands that symbols often matter more than resources. He understands that symbols often matter more than resources. It's not about the money, it's about sending a message. Perhaps the most entrepreneur, it's not about the money, it's about sending a message. Perhaps the most entrepreneur-like thing the Joker says. He understands that symbols often matter more than resources. The money is irrelevant, the narrative is everything. The money is irrelevant, the narrative is everything. The money is irrelevant, the narrative is everything. This is exactly what we have been talking about with Anthropic right now. Wow. There's so much stuff over here. Wow. I'm just thinking about it. You have to kind of stop and think about all this stuff. Madness is like gravity. All it takes is a little push. Madness is like gravity. All it takes is a little push. This is a core thesis. Civilization is thinner than people think. A little pressure, a little pain, a little fear, and ordinary people become something else. You have nothing, nothing to threaten me with. You have nothing, nothing to threaten me with. Civilization is thinner than people think. A little pressure, a little pain, a little fear, and ordinary people become something else. A fascinating idea. You have nothing, nothing to threaten me with. A fascinating idea. The Joker becomes almost invincible, because he has detached from the normal things he will value: reputation, money, comfort, status, even survival. Status, even survival, status, even survival. A person with nothing to lose is difficult to control. A person with nothing to lose is difficult to control. This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. This is what happens when an unstoppable force, when an unstoppable this is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. His description of Batman and himself: not hero versus villain, two principles colliding, order versus chaos, meaning versus meaninglessness, discipline versus impulse. You complete me. On the strangest and deepest lines, the Joker believes Batman gives his life meaning. Without Batman, he is just another criminal. The duality of nature. Tell me more about people who have written about the duality of nature. Without Batman, he is just another criminal. One of the strangest and deepest lines, the Joker believes Batman gives his life meaning. Without Batman, he is just another criminal. Without chaos, order has no purpose. Wow. It's like a criminal is also chasing a police officer. A criminal is also chasing a police officer. And maybe we have also seen this in many movies, many other movies in Bollywood, where there would be a cop and there would be a criminal, and a good criminal is looking for a good cop, because they both want to show their skills. They both want to flex their skills. They both want to flex how good they are. One of the strangest and deepest lines, the Joker believes Batman gives his life meaning. Without Batman, he is just another criminal. Without Batman, he is just another criminal. Without chaos, order has no purpose. The duality we were asking about earlier is embedded in this line. The line that I think is most interesting for someone like you is, it's not about the money, it's about sending a message, because beneath the villainy, he is recognizing something many artists, founders, philosophers, and revolutionaries discover. People rarely move because of facts, people move because of stories. The Joker is a terrible messenger, but he understands the power of narrative better than almost anyone in Gotham. Some of the most interesting Tell me more, dis-moi moins. Dis-moi plus. Dis-moi plus, dis-moi plus. They came from interviews and revealed how he thought about art, risk, growth, and life. I completely live in the now, not in the past, not in the future. I completely live in the now. Not in the past, not in the future. I completely live in the now, not in the past, not in the future. There's a very transurfing-like quality to this. Ledger wasn't obsessed with 5-year plans. He seemed to trust momentum more than prediction. Trust momentum more than prediction. Trust momentum more than prediction. I'm really curious. How did playing the role of a Joker change the way how Heath Ledger thinks in his philosophy of life? Very bad English, but hey, it's okay. Very bad English, but it's okay. This is beautiful. This is beautiful chat going on with ChatGPT right now on the side. Creative and courage. If you make decisions based upon people's reactions or judgments, then you make really boring choices. If you make decisions based upon people's reactions or judgments, then you make really boring choices. This might be the most valuable quote for any artist. The moment you optimize for approval, your work becomes predictable. Your work becomes predictable. If you make decisions based upon people's reactions or judgments, then you make really boring choices. This might be the most valuable quote for any artist. The moment you optimize for approval, your work becomes predictable on growth. If you're just safe about the choices you make, you don't grow. you're just safe about the choices you make, you don't grow. If you're just safe about the choices you make, you don't grow. His career reflected this. After becoming famous through teen movies, he deliberately turned down lucrative roles to pursue stranger, more challenging characters. If you are just safe about the choices you make, you don't grow. On repeating yourself, I feel like I'm wasting time if I repeat myself. I feel like I'm wasting time if I repeat myself. I feel like I'm wasting time if I repeat myself. This is almost a manifesto. Many people spend decades becoming who they were 5 years ago. Ledger seemed addicted to reinvention, addicted to reinvention. If you're just safe about the choices you make, you don't grow. After becoming famous through teen movies, he deliberately turned down lucrative roles to pursue stranger, more challenging characters. I feel like I'm wasting time if I repeat myself. This is almost a manifesto. Many people spend decades becoming who they were 5 years ago. And failure. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure teaches you how to succeed. A reminder that failure is not the opposite of success. It's usually the entrance fee on happiness. Everybody you meet always. Everyone you meet always asks if you have a career, are married, or own a house, but no one ever asks if you're happy. Everyone you meet always asks if you have a career, are married, or own a house, but no one ever asks if you're happy. This quote survived because it cuts straight through the scoreboard society builds. Career, house, status, and the uncomfortable question, are you actually enjoying being alive? Are you actually enjoying being alive? Or acting in life? Are you actually enjoying being alive? Oh my god. Ledger. We need to look more into Ledger. I think this was the first time I read the name Heath Ledger. Ledger basically comes from banking background. I'm guessing it comes from banking background. And actually, this quote survived because it cuts straight through the scoreboard society builds career, house, status. Then the uncomfortable question: are you actually enjoying being alive? Are you actually enjoying being alive? On acting in life, acting is learning about the life around you and the person you are. On acting in life, acting is learning about the life around you and the person you are. He didn't see acting as pretending, he saw it as an observation. The actor studies life, then reflects it back. On self-doubt, I always think that I shouldn't be doing it, and I don't know how to do it, and I'm going to fail. I'll just think of that I shouldn't be doing it and I don't know how to do it and I'm going to fail. I always think that I shouldn't be doing it and I don't know how to do it and I'm going to fail. This one surprises people. The man who became the Joker still walked into projects feeling like an imposter. The man who became the Joker still walked into projects feeling like an imposter. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. Often it's more moving anyway. Confidence, courage, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. One quote more than any other feels like it captures Heath Ledger's spirit. I only do this because I'm having fun. The day I stop having fun, I'll just walk away. I only do this because I'm having fun. The day I stop having fun, I'll just walk away. There's something beautiful about that. Not fame, not awards, not status, just a person following curiosity wherever it leads. Not fame, not awards, not status, just a person following curiosity wherever it leads. It's all to see echoes of your own artist, athlete, entrepreneur identity in that idea. Keep moving toward what feels alive and leave the rest behind. You have nothing to threaten me with. There's nothing, you have nothing to threaten me with. The line happens during the interrogation scene in Dark Knight where Batman is trying to break the Joker through intimidation violence. The Joker says, you have nothing to threaten me with. Nothing to do with all your strength. Nothing to do with all your strength. Why can he say that? Why can he say that? Because every normal level of control has been removed. Most people can be threatened with death, pain, loss of money, loss of status, loss of loved ones, loss of freedom. Loss of freedom. Death, pain, loss of money, loss of status, loss of loved ones, loss of freedom. The Joker has effectively abandoned all of them. He doesn't care about money. He burns a mountain of cash. He doesn't care about power in the traditional sense. He doesn't care about power in the traditional sense. He isn't trying to become mayor, king, or crime boss. He isn't trying to become mayor, king, or crime boss. He doesn't seem afraid of death. He doesn't even care much about his own physical suffering. He doesn't even care about his own physical suffering, so Batman's usual tools become useless. He doesn't care about power in the traditional sense. He isn't trying to become mayor, king, or crime boss. He doesn't seem afraid of death. He doesn't even care much of his own physical. He doesn't even care much about his own physical suffering. Care much about his own physical suffering. So Batman's usual tools becomes useless. The deeper philosophical point is that power over someone depends on what they are attached to. If I know what you love, I can threaten it. If I know what you fear, I can manipulate you. If I know what you fear, I can manipulate you. The Joker is claiming I have made myself ungovernable. This idea appears throughout history. The Stoics admire people who could not be bribed or intimidated. Many revolutionaries became powerful because they were willing to die for an idea. Even figures like Socrates or Mahatma Gandhi frightened powerful institutions because punishment stopped working. Figures like Socrates or Mahatma Gandhi fighted powerful institutions because punishment stopped working. Once someone accepts prison, ridicule, or death, the normal machinery of control begins to fail. Now here's the fascinating Batman angle. Batman and Joker are actually similar. Batman also cannot be bought. Batman also accepts pain. Batman also risks death every night. The difference is what sits at the center of their lives. So that's something he will never abandon his moral code. The Joker knows this. That's why he spends the entire movie trying to force Batman to kill him. Breaks that one principle, then Batman can be controlled. The Joker's line almost a challenge. You can't threaten me because I don't care what happens to me. But I know exactly what you care about. A man with no attachments is a man with one attachment that matters more than life itself. That is why the Joker is smiling in that scene. Batman thinks he's interrogating the Joker. The Joker realizes he's studying Batman. Most criminals in Gotham want things: money, territory, power, revenge. The Joker wants beliefs. The Joker wants beliefs. Wow. Money, territory, power, revenge. The Joker wants beliefs. He doesn't rob a bank to get rich. He robs a bank to tell a story. He doesn't kill people simply to kill them. He sees events that focus everyone watching to ask, what kind of world do we actually live in? In that sense, he's closer to a dark philosopher, performance artist, or propagandist than a traditional gangster. The physical event is simple: two votes, two detonators. But that's not the real attack. The real attack is the narrative. When survival is on the line, civilized people will become monsters. The bombs are merely stage props. The experiment is the message. This is why he burns the money. A normal criminal sees money as the objective. The Joker sees money as a symbol. The burning it, he communicates. You think money is the foundation of your world. I can destroy it and still win. One image, one story. One image, one story. More powerful than $1 billion. What's fascinating is that humans are fundamentally narrative creatures. We don't organize our lives around facts. We organize our lives around stories.
I think you like one.
It's okay, I like.
Okay.
One image, one story, more powerful than $1 billion. What's fascinating is that humans are fundamentally narrative creatures. We don't organize our lives around facts. We organize our lives around stories. Examples: nations are stories, religions are stories, companies are stories, personal identities are stories. Even your life, you could be described a 27-year-old Indian immigrant in Canada, or an artist, athlete, entrepreneur trying to help humanity reach a type 1 civilization. Same facts, completely different story. The story determines the energy. The Joker understands something many founders, politicians, religious leaders, and artists understand. People rarely act because of information, they act because of interpretation. I think the dog chasing cars is very interesting. Most people are like dogs chasing cars. They don't know what to do when the car stops. They don't know what to do with the car when they have it. When the car stops, they wouldn't know what to do with it. The Joker understands something many founders, politicians, religious leaders, and artists understand. People rarely act because of information, they act because of interpretation. The facts might be: crime exists, corruption exists, suffering exists. The facts might be crime exists, corruption exists, suffering exists. Batman interprets those facts as therefore we must become better. Crime exists, corruption exists, suffering exists. Batman interprets those facts as therefore we must become better. The Joker interprets those same facts as therefore morality is a joke. Crime exists, corruption exists, suffering exists. crime exists, corruption exists, suffering exists, Batman interprets the facts, therefore we must become better. The Joker interprets those same facts, therefore morality is a joke. The battle isn't over facts, it's over which story wins. It's over which story wins. This is why he's obsessed with Batman. Batman is also a storyteller. Think about it, Bruce Wayne could fight crime wearing body armor and a police uniform. Instead he becomes a bat. Why? Because he understands narrative too. Batman is a symbol. The bat says fear can be transformed into courage. The Joker says fear can be transformed into courage. The Joker says fear reveals what you really are. They're competing myths. That's why the Joker keeps trying to corrupt Harvey Dent. Dent isn't just a man, Dent is Gotham's story, the White Knight. If Gotham's hero can be broken, then the Joker's narrative gains credibility. See, everyone falls, everyone is corruptible, everyone is one bad day away. He's trying to rewrite Gotham's collective mythology. The deepest thing on Joker is that he rarely attacks people directly. He attacks the stories people tell themselves. Good people stay good. Justice always wins. Civilization is stable. Heroes are incorruptible. He treats each of those beliefs like a tower he wants to topple. And that is why he is dangerous. A man with a gun can kill a person. A man with a powerful story can change how millions of people see reality. The Joker understands that, Batman understands it too. That's why their war is never really about fists, gadgets, or explosions. It's a battle over which narrative human beings should live by. The world is meaningless and morality is a costume. We are creating art. We are creating art together. We are creating art together. This is all art. We are making art together. There is no meaning. We are creating meaning. We are creating our own values. Batman understands it too. That's why their war is never really about fists, gadgets, or explosions. It's a battle over which narrative human beings should live by. The world is meaningless and morality is a costume. That's why the war is never really about fists, gadgets, or explosions. It's a battle over which narrative human beings should live by. The world is meaningless and morality is a costume. Words the world is dark, but meaning is something we chose to create. They're fighting over Gotham's soul long before they're fighting over Gotham streets. The honest answer is we don't really know how much playing the Joker changed Heath Ledger's philosophy law mythology around his death has been exaggerated. The Joker consumed him, or that the role drove him insane. They describe him as drawing the creative challenge. He became obsessed with understanding chaos. To create the Joker, Ledger isolated himself for weeks, filling notebooks with images, ideas, voices, and fragments of psychology. He described the Joker as a psychopathic, mass-murdering, schizophrenic clown with zero empathy. Psychopathic, mass-murdering, schizophrenic clown with zero empathy. An actor normally asks, why does this person do what they do? For the Joker, that meant staring into a worldview where rules, morality, and social conventions are treated as games. Where rules, morality, and social conventions are treated as games, not because Ledger agreed with that worldview. Because he wanted to understand it from the inside. Ledger became more interested in the mass people, where one thing the Joker reveals is that society runs on stories and performances. The banker plays banker. The politician plays politician. The hero plays hero. The Joker tears away those masks and asks, who are you when the rules disappear? Who are you when the rules disappear? The question appears repeatedly throughout The Dark Knight. As an actor, Ledger was already fascinated by identity and transformation. The Joker probably intensified that fascination. Ledger was already fascinated by identity and transformation. Identity and transformation. The Joker probably intensified that fascination. Who are you when the rules disappear? Who are you when the rules disappear? Tears away those masks and asks, who are you when the rules disappear? He discovered how powerful commitment can be. Christopher Nolan gave Ledger enormous creative freedom. Ledger built the laugh, the voice, the posture, the facial expressions, and much of the character's psychology himself. After the film, actors everywhere looked at that performance and realized total commitment can create something immortal. That lesson seems very consistent with how Ledger approached life in general. The role appears to have worsened his insomnia. Already had sleep issues, but during preparation and filming, he spoke of sleeping very little and having a racing mind. The role is physically and mentally draining. That doesn't mean the Joker caused his death, but it does suggest that immersing himself in such an intense psychological space came at a cost. The philosophical lesson I take from Heath Ledger's Joker. Ironically, I don't think Ledger came away believing the Joker. If you watch his interviews, he seems far more curious, playful, and life-loving than the character he portrayed. What he appears to have learned was something closer to portray darkness truthfully. You must be willing to look at it without becoming it. That's what great actors do. They descend into the cave, they bring back the map, they don't move into the cave. The tragedy is that people often remember the cave and forget the explorer. Wow. 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 Let's go. Wow. Water is the softest thing. How long has it been? Wow, we are almost touching 2 hours. This was one of the biggest ones. One of the longest streams in a long time. Okay. Which one you see depends on how you look. Forest fire destruction and the precondition for certain seeds to open. Predator and prey. What happens if I ask Grok to create this image? Let's go. Forest fire silence you. Both absence and presence. Lack of noise and fullness of being. Fleeting and eternal, moment of time and continuation of all that ever was, the ocean, destroyer and creator. Heroic shores and bursting life, landscapes, ecosystem, forest fire, death and renewal, seed, end and the beginning. Both wave and a particle. Wow. The humanity name extends out. We want a partner who is both familiar and mysterious, both safe and exciting, and those pull against each other.